under the sun, the fields are alive. Cheering crowds and the teams collide. In these moments, we stand tall and free. Flourish pride runs deep in we. With every touchdown, we rise and we cheer. Unity and spirit, the heart of the year. Raise your voices, let's make it loud. In Florida's high schools, we're so damn proud. From the bleachers to the end zone to go, football and cheers make our spirits grow. Girls in the game, they're fierce and bright. Flag in hand, they give it their might. From every town they bring their dreams. On this field of gold, nothing's as it seems. Together we shine, together we play. In Florida's heart, we own this day. Raise your voices, let's make it loud. In Florida's high schools, we're so damn proud. From the bleachers to the end zones go, football and cheers make our spirits grow. So here's to the game, we'll rise and stand. Enthralled and feel, real night band.
Stuff on here, and there we go. We're finally on. I apologize, everybody, for making y'all wait and hold on for a second there and everything, trying to get the audio situated here, but I think it's coming through on my end. Please give me some thumbs up on the chat if y'all can hear me here on the chat. Come on, I'm here. I'm on. Mark says he's almost out of gas. All right, we're getting the thumbs up now. There we go. Good. I apologize, everybody. It's been one of those weeks. It's been one of those weekends, I should say. Really, honestly, it's been, man. The main laptop, after 6 years, it's on its last legs. Hopefully, I can get it fixed. Reno's looking at helping me get it fixed here, but we're live. We're finally on and everything with that said. And let's just kind of get right into it here. Kind of forgive me. I'm working with two different systems, a Windows and a Mac here that are a little bit older, but they're doing the job, and we're going to get this going here on the show here. So with that said here, as we roll along here, we'll go ahead and roll into this one here with everything that we've got here. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I make sure that there we go. And then I'll bring myself over to this screen over here. That way y'all can see everything that's going on here a little bit. Usually I think usually Chris was on. Well, usually Chris is on with me in every way. So, but Chris, unfortunately, with a conflicting schedule tonight, he is not on. He'll be back tomorrow night for the other shows. So, it's just me, myself, and I right now, unless Coach Robert Ron, who might be joining me for some shows here, jumps in, hoping to have maybe potentially him come in, but we'll see from there. But yeah, it's been frustrating and everything, Emery. It's been one of those things. And Emery, see that? Okay, let me go ahead and bring this up here on the screen. So if I use the correct mouse, I'll be able to see everything of everybody here on the show here. There we go. Yes, it's been the most frustrating, nerve-wracking. It's really all that, but let's just go ahead and get into it here with the rural bracket here as we look at it here. Rural classification bracket. We got a lot going on here with everything with that said here. And as you can see here, a few changes here. You see Fort White has slid into the number 16 spot here. We see Madison County jumping up, getting closer to a top 8 spot. Yeah, we're just gonna have some. We're just gonna. Oh man, there's a lot here to be said here. There's some frustrating things. We'll talk about it here as we roll along here. Trenton sitting there, moving up a little bit. You see those teams moving up a little bit here. Not really too significant in terms of changes here. Outside of, you don't see Cottondale in the mix right now. Port St. Joe was in the mix here, I think last week. They're not in the mix this week here. So again, we've got a lot. Man, Steven Thatch, hey, how you doing? Good to see you here again. Forgive me, I've been really. It has been so stressful here the last few days here, trying to get everything situated with technology. Technology decided, we're just gonna go on off into its merry way. Hopefully, I can get some stuff fixed here along the way here. But anyways, a lot going on here. As you see, the Royal Bracket, the 16 teams. I think what we're seeing here with the Royal Bracket, what we're seeing here right now is that these two, what we see here, the teams that are on the Royal Bracket, they're going to be on here pretty much at this particular point here in the bracket here as we roll along here. So, boy, yeah. How much did Fort Meade jump or drop after beating Frostproof 42-20? You know what? Actually, Fort Meade didn't really move at all. Fort Meade was actually at 11 last week, and they stayed stuck at 11. So, man, it really is. There's things about these rankings I like, and there's things about these rankings I don't like. You can just throw them out with the bathwater, I should say. But yeah, with that said here. All right, let's take a look at Class 1A here. Really, what we got Class 1A here. You're looking at this. You got University Christian. Still sitting at 1. Hey, well, okay. hey, well, speaking of such people, I'll go ahead and get Coach Rob. Coach, I knew you were going to jump in at some point here. I told everybody because my other guy, Chris, he usually is on here, and he has his conflicting schedule this week. Kind of made it difficult for him to be on tonight. But we were just looking at the rural bracket. The teams that we're seeing in that rural bracket, there's not much I can think that is going to change here. But Madison County, they're slow climbing. But I think if they can get a top 8 seed, they beat Lecanto this week, which never mind the news coming out of Lecanto.
Give me just a second.
Okay. Give Coach a second here. I'm gonna drop him off the screen while he gets a second here. We'll get him back on here in just a second here. I'll wait for the cue. I'll wait for a finger thumbs up here in a moment here as we roll along here. But looking at Class 1A Region 1 here, you see that we've got. If you're ready, Coach, just give me a thumbs up here, and I'll bring you back on screen. It looks okay. Maybe okay. Good. All right. There you go. All right, so we got Coach there on the screen, and Coach, we were just talking about the rural bracket as I was getting in the rural. Let me go back to it here 1 second here with the rural bracket. Sorry, everybody, but Madison County is sitting there at 9. They actually moved up a spot, and I'm noticing that if they got to beat Lecanto this week, they're going to get a top 8 seed, and they're going to at least get a home playoff game in that regional semifinal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was kind of the trajectory after last week. I know we kind of hit on that last week that I saw you talk about, and that was the debate last week. Is it's the same story with Madison every year. The records change year to year, but the schedule is difficult. To your point last week, you gotta win the winnable games.
Oh, absolutely! You got to win these winnable games, because if you don't win winnable games, you're not. You're not gonna be able to get up there. I know you guys are talking about the strength of schedule in the chat. The strength of schedule in the chat in what the FHSAA Max Preps rankings are. There's a lot to be said there. There's so many different things that you can. I really don't know what goes into it. Nobody really knows what's going in it, and as Coach fixes his camera there. But, I got to say this. Just the Max Preps rankings, you take it or leave it. Especially with the FHA ones. There's so many things. There's some things that have been changed in it. There's nobody really knows what the true quote-unquote margin of victory is. Is it 18 points, 19 points? I've heard two different numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more secretly kept than the recipe for the Krusty Krab burger. So
I wonder if this is more locked down than what the gold is at Fort Knox.
It's ridiculous. I don't know. We have this conversation. It feels like at least every year since all of this changed, and I'm not the massive supporter of the old school style of the district champ, district runner up. And because we've talked about the negatives of that are very clear. We understood 2 and 8 teams getting into the playoffs that go 2 and 1 in a district. And that's just ridiculous. And I understand that. But at the very least, you understood who was in the playoffs. There was no guessing game outside of a tiebreaker that you might have to do on a Monday. With that being said, we have these models where we do point systems. I don't understand the disregard by the state to at least provide some type of clarity into the algorithm and how all of this comes about.
Yeah,
because you're still going to have rankings that might upset people. However, if I'd rather be upset and still know how it happened.
Yeah, I thought maybe an average of rankings would, hey, look at some of these computer rankings, average them out, see what this says. I looked at it. There's some things that would change. There's some things that would stay the same. But at the end of the day, at least hey, well, there's an agreement at least across the board, maybe with the rankings. But what's more, I gotta give Emery a round of applause on that one. What's a more guarded secret? The FHA rankings, the Krabby Patty secret formula, or Colonel Sanders secret KFC chief? That one's good, Emery. Good. But look at Class 1A here, Region 1 here. Let's go through these here. I mean, obviously, there's not really there's some changes, but there's a notch in changes. If you're Trinity Catholic, you beat PK Young, but drop 2 spots. I mean, that's what happens. Right. I mean, you actually no, sorry, that's drop a spot, but still, you're down to 6. Now your matchup is, instead of potentially being like against Episcopal, you're looking at Trinity Christian. Which, by the way, Trinity Christian, they're not the same Trinity Christian we've known for years. I mean, they're
down year for sure, but definitely a team I think over the last couple of weeks that is starting to. They don't look how they've looked over the course of the last 10, 15 years, and we know that. And they don't have the same dudes. However, still well coached. They're always going to be disciplined. They've just, teams in the area specifically have caught up with them.
No, absolutely. They've absolutely caught up with them. And you talk about that, Bowles, Mandarin, Reigns. I mean, you just you name these teams along the way. I mean, you got St. Augustine, you got Beachside, got Ponte Vedra. I mean, it's everywhere. It's not just limited to Duval County in the Jacksonville Metro. It's right. So, but looking at this here, Coach, I mean, obviously, Impact Christian did make a jump up a couple spots, but North Florida Educational, that one, they've come out hot late here, and now all of a sudden, now they're because of what they have done here the last few weeks, that almost guarantees them to keep North Florida Christian out unless Providence slips up here in the last week. But again, Providence has played a much tougher schedule compared to what North Florida Christian has. They're the team that's 9th, sitting right outside. So. Yeah, Mark. Coach is right about what Jacksonville Trinity Christian.
Yeah, Trina, I saw the comment about the schedule. Trinity's it's similar to Madison. Mm-hmm. And the only reason that Madison's sitting where they're sitting is because of the way they do the seeding. If you would break it down to a 1 through 8 regional, Trinity's about where Madison would be with a similar schedule, and that's showing that the algorithm is clearly not taking strength of schedule entirely into its favor. Trinity has played a loaded schedule, but over the last couple of weeks have started to kind of figure some things out. They're figuring out what they do well, and they're starting to really stick to it. They're defensively, their game plans have looked a little bit sharper. It really came down to having to figure out how to use the personnel that they have in comparison to past years. So definitely was a late start. Schedule didn't help anything, but it's a team, so long as that staff is still there and that old man is still sitting up top, that's a team you don't want to see in the playoffs the first couple of rounds. It's just a team that's dangerous when you face them, no matter who the personnel is. So long as Verlin Dormany is sitting up there at the top,
you're right.
You can't ever chalk them out. So.
You're absolutely right there, Coach, on that one. And looking at that Region 2, actually, by the way, no changes whatsoever in Region 2. I know people are going to say First Academy is in that ranking. I know there's a court filing injunction. I don't know if they're, I don't know if they're going to let them in just because, hey, you didn't even play a district schedule. You're not going to get, I just don't know. But to stand by, we'll see what happens. A lot can happen in the next few days before. I mean, we still got another little over a week before the playoff brackets come out Thursday, November 6th, which we'll plan to go live starting around 11 o'clock that day before the FHSAA releases the playoff brackets at noon. So we'll have a lot of fun line up, and then the FIT brackets come out at 2 that day. And then, so a lot going on here, Region 2. Region 3 and Class 1A, again, really the biggest change here. Southwest Florida Christian comes up a couple spots from 6 to 4. St. John Newman drops 4 to 5, and then Northside Christian's at 6 now. But other than that, again, the 8 teams that we've been talking about for weeks on end, these are the teams that you're going to see here. Maybe the positioning may be a little different by the time the final bracket comes out, the ranking. So we won't have that. The FHA won't drop rankings next Tuesday because they will be in preparation of getting ready for Thursday. So we won't have Drive the State show Tuesday night next week. But so this is it for Tuesday night in terms of right now for the regular season. So Region 3, not really much change here. Region 4, you get into it, Coach. I mean, again, we're looking at, I think, the 8 teams that are going to be there. I mean, I haven't still figured out the answer regarding, I want to believe it's Archbishop Carroll and True North. They haven't played each other. I don't know if they're going to make that up here Monday or Tuesday, because the FHA gave the ultimatum. All right, finish your games by November 4th, and that's
right.
it. So, but that has to determine the district champion, and that's kind of hard to figure out. I haven't gone really deep and look. Again, my computer tech issues over the weekend, and just
it almost feels like they have to. It said it's by the 4th.
Yeah, the 4th is the last day you can make up your game. So
and they're dropping what the playoff schedule is on the 5th?
On the Thursday on the 6th. So they're giving a day in between to make sure everything is correct. So
and the playoffs are the following week.
Yeah, no, start the following week. SSA starts their playoffs this week. So so it's there's a 2-week gap between SSA playoffs and the FHA playoffs starting. So but looking at this here, Region 4, not really much any change. I mean, Shaman Madonna is clearly a number 1. The only seed, I know it's St. Andrews at one point was number 2, but they flip-flop with True North, but we'll see if that holds up here. And with that said, let's go look at Class 2A Region 2. The biggest change here is that we see Bozeman go from 7 to 6. Freeport dropped down to 7. Bozeman won their district. They're in. Florida High is in. Yes, we all know they lost to Gadsden County, but Florida High still in. They're still district champ, regardless of all that. So we know that. Walton, this is interesting. Andrew Jackson had been in that 8 seed the last couple of weeks, but Walton all of a sudden has slid in. But anything's going to happen there at this point. I mean, I think, Bozeman would host South Walton. That is correct, because district champs, unless it's a district champ versus district champ in the first round, if a district champ is in that lower 5 through 8, they will host if the at-large team is a higher seed. So, yes, it really is. 2A1 makes sense. It makes most sense. I think it's gonna be interesting, but really, it's clearly the bowl show in that region. So we'll leave that one alone for right now. Here,
I don't see anything changing on that front.
Yeah. By the way, Region 2. So really, what's the biggest change here? Newberry has managed to, even though they lost, all the other factors they needed to happened. And now they have jumped Astronaut into that 7 seed. Astronaut number 8 now in the region, but guess who's number 8 in the number 8 seed? That's Avon Park, who won their district and blew out Lake Placid. And so, but really, I think it comes down to 3 teams in this region. It's Bradford, there's Villages, then there's Cocoa. I mean, it really comes down to these 3 teams basically that's going to end up being contending in this region. And I'm interested to see if Cocoa can really kind of, now you've kind of gotten your 2 wins in a row. You've got Rockledge this week. I think you'll take care of Rockledge. No issue there. It's okay. Get in the playoffs. Okay, you get Berkeley Prep. All right, take care of Berkeley Prep. Most likely you're going to get Bradford in that second round. You'll get on the road, go to Stark. You've already played Bradford already in the preseason. This Bradford team's gotten better since that preseason kickoff classic, and that's where I feel like if Bradford's looking for their chance against Cocoa, who is down this year, they may have their chance.
And Bradford just seems like week after week, they just seem to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Definitely doesn't have that look of the last 2 years of the consistency, but strength wise, I mean, it'd be hard to argue that. The Villages definitely look formidable as a team that I think would present a good challenge to Bradford. I just don't see the way the season's gone for Cocoa. I don't really see there being much of a. If I had to pick that game,
I just
today,
don't know if they're gonna.
Yeah, the Berkeley. I mean, don't sleep on the Berkeley game. I mean, that's a tough first round game for them. This week's pretty important. They need some chips to fall.
Yeah, I don't want to sleep on Dom Sayo or anything like that because I mean they have found their way here the last few weeks. I know, and I get that Berkeley Prep is a little bit better than what most people think. I get that they have found their groove here in the last few weeks, and that's good. That's what a good team does. It's not how you start; it's how you finish, and let's see how that happens. Same goes for Cocoa. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. Let's see what happens here. This region, the biggest change that we see here, Region 3, is Canyons. Somerset Canyons, North Broward prepping the 7 and 8 seed. So Somerset Canyons up a spot, North Broward prep down a spot. But other than that, everything else pretty much the same here. Region 3, and then Region 4 in Class 2A, coach. Cardinal Gibbons, Immaculate Cell have flipped the 1-2 spot. Some people thought, Mater Academy is going to get them the Immaculate Cell. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. Hit the right button, Josh. But Cardinal Mooney, you know what? I'll tell you this about Cardinal Mooney out of 2A. If there's really, when we're looking at it, we could be looking at a Bulls cut Cardinal Mooney showdown in the state championship game. I think that's your two best teams sitting there in that classification right now. And boy, that would be one hell of a showdown. By the way, I'll go ahead and do this here before we get into 3A. Ladies and gentlemen, because of financial considerations, we will not be making the trip to the state championship games this year in Miami because there's just no way. It's not financially possible. If we had some legitimate sponsors outside of the few that we do have, which, I mean, the Florida Coaches Coalition is our biggest one right now. I got to tell you, the travel to Miami for the state championships, we actually went in the hole last year, and to travel for the state championship games, we do go in the massive hole. And especially with the games being at Pitbull Stadium, there is no way, unless we find some massive sponsors, there's just no way. And I cannot, it's just not feasible. And the ones that do, some of these people that I know that come down there, they're taking days off of work. Some of them are not, they work other jobs. They literally, this is where we're at right now. If we were talking that the state championship games were all at the Villages or all basically in Orlando, I think we'd be in a bit of a different story situation. But Miami, I can tell you right now, Miami is not cheap to stay in December. It is not. So we'll have to, this year, the state championship coverage from FloridaHSFootball.com will end up coming remotely. So I apologize unless we find somebody that's down there that will help us with coverage, but it's one of those things. And I'll be honest, I'll be honest with you. Get back to Orlando with the state championships. Honestly.
It should be centralized. I was never a fan of it. I mean, the experience in Tallahassee was great during COVID, but I was never a fan of it being in the north. I'm not a fan of it being in the south. It needs to be centrally located. We don't have I get why other states that are more rural states like Alabama's and the Georgias playing at the college venues the way they do. I think even a location like a Stetson makes sense. I think the Villages with their new stadium makes sense, but Orlando, all of that's fairly centrally located where I feel like it's fair to the Panhandle, it's fair to South Florida and so forth. But having it down south is, I don't want to say anything that'll make anyone upset, but
it's a tough out, and yeah, I mean, honestly, there's so many venues along the I-4 corridor. This is why I'm like, okay, why is it not at UCF? Why are we not playing? Like, what's going on? Why can't we get back to? I mean, even if it's a Citrus Bowl, why are we not back there? Why is it that Because I tell you right now, I can find cheap hotel rates in Orlando way much cheaper. For the amount of stay that I could stay in Orlando, the triple that for Miami. So I mean, Hunter, Jacksonville, yes, but outside of Everbank Stadium, which is getting renovated, name me a place that we could realistically put the state championships at right now in Jacksonville. There's not. There's
none. There's really nothing. It stinks.
There's really nothing there. I mean, and I'll tell you right now. Would it be cool if once all the stadium renovations done? I mean, we're talking like 2028. I'm sure, but right now,
the cost alone that they would charge to use that facility once that's done would really kind of put it out of that price range. I don't think that's going to be feasible, but Camping World, again, Camping World makes a lot of sense in Orlando. Stetson, the Villages. I can understand the reasons why people wouldn't want to do the Villages in terms of like essentially siphoning money into a program like that.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The Villages are gonna they're eventually going within the next year or so, or they're gonna add they're gonna start adding that second side of that stadium, which brings it up to what the FHA needs. There's hotels starting to go up that are going to be walking distance right across from the school. I mean, that's what's going to happen. And honestly, that's a much better out in terms of for a lot of people because it's right on the turnpike. It's right off the turnpike. You can get in and out. There you go. So, but anyways, Class 3A Region 1, I mean, it's pretty much going to be the rain show, I feel like, in this region here. Bay and Bishop Kenny have flipped the 2-3 spots. Baker County and Gabi have flipped the 7-8 spots. But other than that, you don't really see much change here in terms of the teams here, and it's pretty much going to be Reigns and the TJ Cole show, I think, in that region. Region 2, all right, biggest changes that we have seen here at this particular conjecture. Titusville Tavares flipped the 6-7 spots. For weeks, we've had Wikiwachi sitting on that 8 spot because they were the highest ranked team. Well, Wikiwachi Hernando played. Well, guess what? Hernando's the district champ. They're guaranteed that 8 spot. Wikiwachi, they're going to need some help, big time help in order to get into the playoffs at 7. But right now, I just don't see it because their schedule has just been one of the weakest. And it's just, again, you can win all the games you want, but you got to play some tough teams along the way. You can't go schedule all crapshoots and expect to get in. That's just shit. That's just in my. See, this is where, again, strength of schedule over here. Oh, we're going to penalize you, but over here, oh well, some teams. It's weird. It's weird.
I've had them out the last couple of weeks. I don't see an avenue for them to get in.
No, absolutely. So, all right, looking at this, Region 3, no change whatsoever. What you see is what you get here in this bracket, and pretty much I feel like this is like one of the weakest regions of all regions in terms of classifications, regardless of the number you put in front of it. This is just week beyond week, and I just, it's just one of those things where I'm just like, yeah, just give me a...
Good luck to the team that makes it out.
Yeah, good. Well, Booker. I think the Booker team this year is much better than Booker has probably been in the last couple of years. The team that has made a state semifinals the last couple of years, just because they've gotten out of the region. This one drives me nuts here, honestly, because obviously you got Miami Northwestern, Miami Central, and these two teams really are and probably realistically play for a state title, at least, or make it to the state semifinals, and one's only going to make it out. So yeah, that's it's one of those things. Obviously, the biggest change we see here is that Key West moves up to 3, Lele up to 4, and that's where we are at right there in terms of these teams here that we have got sitting here on this as well. So again, a lot going on here with Class 3A, but going to Class 4A, let's take a look at this here. I know everybody in the chat's been hitting this. Said that Choctaw has jumped St. Augustine.
Wow.
I'm confused. I don't understand. I feel like St. Augustine's played the much tougher schedule. I mean, they're about to play a 5-win Enterprise team out of Alabama this week for Choctaw. But I mean, really? Can someone explain? I mean, Escambia has been down. I mean, Rickards, I'm still befuddled, but this is where everything has gotten watered down in this whole thing with these too many classifications. This is where you get teams that have losing records. I mean, Pine Forest is in the playoffs as a district champ. I mean, Escambia is now down to 8. So, I mean, it's...
The only thing that I can think is, and we talked about this last week on the phone, is the strength of the Jacksonville, North Florida area as a whole is down this year. It's not saying that the teams are bad. It's the overall strength of the area. The only thing I could think, although we both, I think, can agree, I don't really understand how St. Augustine gets jumped. And that's that. The 3 best teams in the North Florida area is Rains, Bowles, and St. Augustine. And an unbiased person could rank those however you want. It doesn't really matter. They're all 3 exceptional teams. I think saying I think the teams on St. Augustine's schedule, maybe that's what's hurting them when you factor in the points. I don't really understand that. How you have a team that's consistently at the top of that region, and then here we are 1 week to go, and now they drop them to 2. And I mean, they haven't done anything wrong except play the game.
And you know what? We'll see what happens this week against Mandarin. Obviously, that's going to be, it's a good tune-up for the playoffs here for St. Augustine and for Mandarin, for both teams getting ready for their respective playoffs. Both are district champs in their respective classifications. This one is just bothering me a little bit. Why St. Augustine is now bumped down to 2 versus Choctaw, who's 1. I mean, it's all about who you play, and then Columbia 3. I feel like, to me, Columbia should be, if it were me, St. Augustine, Columbia would be a 1-2, Choctaw 3, just because, again, look at who they played.
Yeah. Well, to the comment about the Panhandle, I don't think what we're saying is that Choctaw isn't necessarily deserving of being in that, at least in the top 3 discussion. At least I'm not saying. Choctaw's a great team. I mean, you're talking to somebody that I coached in Tallahassee, and every time we went to the Panhandle, I'd have nightmares of the drive, not necessarily because of the teams we were facing. It was just, it's a different environment out there, kind of stuck out there in the corner, and there's a lot of great teams, and Choctaw's deserving of being up there. My argument is just simply that you have a St. Augustine team that's consistently been up there, has won the games in front of them, no blemishes, and somehow now we decide to penalize them. So interesting. If it stays that way, that is a team that you don't want to piss off right now. And if you make them make that drive out to Choctaw for the regional final, run me the house on St. Augustine for that game.
No, absolutely here. 4A Region 2, let's look at this here. Jones, this one's befuddling me a little bit. Lake Wells jumping to 2, Zephyr Hills 3. I mean, I guess they've played comparable schedules in some aspects, but Zephyr Hills has definitely played. But we're gonna find out more about Zephyr Hills and who they are as a team this week when they play Port Charlotte at home. So we'll find out more here. New Smyrna Beach, congratulations to Johnny Wilkinson. His Cudas are district champs. They took care of Rockledge, went 4-0 in the district there in their 5-team district. You got Lecanto sitting there at 8. I mean, really at this point, I feel like the teams are here. Vanguard, I think that loss to Palm Beach Central in week 9 kind of hurt them a little bit here in terms of really kind of getting for a top 4 seed, but we'll see. Anything can happen here at this particular point. We're thinking, oh, well, we know what it may be looking like. And then all of a sudden here comes the final rankings and it's like, what in the heck is this? I mean, it really is one of those things that I just like, man, it's really nutty to think that, we're gonna have quite a few teams that are gonna have losing records that are in the playoffs. I mean, and just is the one thing that, say, oh, well, we're trying to avoid that. Well, we're back to square one again where we have that again. So, and that FIT bracket, I don't even want to talk about right now. Region 3, for weeks we've had the Southeast sitting there at 8, but guess what? Osceola beat Southeast back in the week 8, and Osceola won out. Southeast did their stuff, but because of that, Osceola out of Seminole is now the district champ, and they're guaranteed the 8 spot. Even though Southeast is still ranked higher than them, they get the district champ spot. They're an 8 now, and really, at this particular point, now you see Blake sitting there at 7. They have come into the rankings here. They finally got that push up there. So, they're opening up the FIT bracket. It's going to be one bracket 4A through 7A. One is going to be 1A through 3A, but there ain't going to be really any 1A teams left to take from the picking because, almost every 1A team is qualified for their bracket at 32 out of 40-some teams. I mean, tell me what 1A team's going to end up that bracket. And then there'll be the rural FIT. We'll see how many teams actually in the rural actually go for it because again, numbers are about to start to dwindle in the rural bracket here. But, honestly, I see Naples, and this is, again, I don't think there's any head-to-head considerations with these Max Preps FHA power rankings, which, if you play each other, there should be a head-to-head factor somewhere at some point. Okay, yes, okay. at the minimum for a few weeks. But if it's you had the head-to-head and it's early in the season but you're getting better now, I mean, yeah, I could see where the head-to-head may not necessarily apply. But when it's later in the season, especially in your district stretch, there's got to be some head-to-head somewhere here. So anyways, you see full Class 4A Region 4, Archbishop McCarthy sitting there at 1, American Heritage 2. Obviously, I mean, I guess maybe head-to-head is playing a factor here because, obviously, again, McCarthy did beat Heritage. But you're seeing Norland has made some jumps here. Jensen Beach sitting there at 4. You got John Carroll, who's moved up a little bit. Plantations dropped some. But, again, the 8 teams you're seeing here in Region 4, these are the teams I'd expect here to be as part of that. So, did I lose you there, Coach?
No, I'm here.
Okay, good. But other than that, we're really at this particular point. This is what we've got here in terms of Class 4A Region 4. Let's go to look at 5A, Class 5A Region 1 here. The biggest changes that you're seeing here really is that Beachside has come back up a little bit. Milton dropped down to the 5 seed after losing to Niceville. Niceville has come up here after that win. Hey, Nale, SOS, senseless overstubstance. Senselessness. Okay, I like that. All right, but 5 Middleburg they were sitting there at 6 last week, dropped to 7. Lincoln is 8. The team that is actually number 8 right now in that region is Fleming Island, but they would be out because of Lincoln. And really, honestly, I think the 8 teams you're seeing here, these will be the 8 teams in the playoff bracket here at this particular point. I don't see Middleburg having trouble with North Marion this week, but even if they did lose to North Marion by some happen chance, I don't think that would be enough to push them out the door just because. But looking at that, Mosley sitting there, Mosley Niceville rematch would be really, really interesting. And a Ponte Vedra Middleburg, I'll be honest with you, Middleburg would like another shot at Ponte Vedra after what happened a few weeks ago. So I think Middleburg would love another shot at them. And then, of course, Milton having to go on the road to Beachside instead of Milton hosting Beachside. Ooh, tough out. But Lincoln, and that would be a tough road trip to mainland.
The comment brought up a good point on Beachside playing Fleming. That is for the is that for the district title?
It could cause a 3-way tie still in that
between Ponte Vedra. Yeah.
But if Beachside wins, I think Fleming would be out. But we'll have to see what happens here. I mean, honestly, I just, oh man. And if Beachside wins, they're district champs. Actually, incorrect because actually, you're right. It's like correct. Beachside wins, they would be district champs. And then Ponte Vedra would be the runner-up. Middleburg would be the third place team in that district. And then
where does that potentially at all bump Beachside up to that 3 seed?
There's a potential, but it also depends on what Mosley does against Florida High this week too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in play here. Definitely a lot in play here. So, all right, let's look at 5A Region 2 here. The biggest change that we really see here at this particular conjecture is that Spoto is out. Wesley Chapel is now up to the 8 seed, which I think we kind of saw coming. It was just, I think we kind of saw coming that there was a chance that Wesley Chapel could have slid into the 8th seed. Well, East Bay took care of that business right there and made sure that Spoto probably is not going to make the playoffs this year. East Bay basically beat them like 50-0. I was like, ridiculous score. And I was like, whoa, okay. I didn't see that one coming, but all right. But other than that, there's really not much change here. That Tech Sebring game could be really, really intriguing in that 4-5 if that holds.
Man,
I'm sorry, Winter Springs. I'm sorry for you. I know Edgewater. You get Edgewater. just go ahead and pack it in. I'm sorry. Yeah, but anyways, here let's look at 5A Region 3. We really don't have much change here other than Charlotte and North Fort Myers flipping the 7 and 8 seeds. I just got to say that's. It really, I mean, some people are saying, well, why is Manatee not higher? But here's the thing. Again, we go back to it. You schedule the tough games. You've got to win a couple of those games, and Manatee has not done that this year. I mean, getting blown out by St. John Bosco week 1, some of these other tough games along the way. You get shut out by Columbia here at the midway point of the season. You just got to show something for this. Got to show something. Got to show something. Will Manatee get to the regional final? Probably. I don't think Cape Coral will give them a battle. Neither would Gulf Coast. I don't even think Charlotte would give them a battle. I think it's when we get. Let's see. Get them up against Riverdale. Let's see what Riverdale can give them. That would be my indicator. But again, we have seen wacky things happen in the playoffs. We have seen 8 seeds beat 1 seeds. We have seen low seeds all of a sudden dominate a bracket. It's a matter of how these teams prepare, how these coaches get these teams ready, and how do you? Yeah, it's as I say, it's 95% mental, it's 5% physical. If you let the 95% mentality get to you, that physicality is not going to help you come when those lights go on a Friday night. So, but Cape Coral pass defense good, but hey, Riverdale had an answer for them. So let's see what happens here. I mean, again, I know Jalen Watkins is the interim head coach there, so we'll have to see again how that happens. This one, I'm still kind of befuddled. I feel like St. Thomas Aquinas should be the one, Atlantic 2, but we'll leave that alone because you know what? Most likely they're going to meet up in the regional finals again, and then Atlantic has some business to take care of. They're still stewing from that loss in the regional final last year. But other than that, I really, and an interesting, intriguing part is that you see got Matter Academy. They're a district champ. Martin County district champ. They would actually end up hosting Coconut Creek in that first round. And I agree, Emery. I would have St. Thomas Aquinas running in this region, or actually in this number one in this region. Again, I want that rematch with Atlantic and St. Thomas Aquinas. That'll be a hot ticket for the regional finals come Thanksgiving. Oops, where did my camera go? I see it on one side, but not the other here. So there we go. Okay. It was on this side, but it dropped out on the other side for some reason. So that's weird. Okay. So anyways, 5A Region 4, there we go. Let's look at 6A Region 1. Buchholz still sitting there at 1. I think Buchholz will, honestly, it's going to come down to Buchholz and Mandarin in this region. Sorry, Evans. Now you're looking at a long road trip to Pace. And, now it looks like instead of Nice going to Oak Cliff, it would be Oak Cliff going to Nice, and Oviedo's sitting there probably like, oh, thank you. Even though we won our district, we're still 7, and we'll only have to go to Mandarin and not have to go to Pace. But again, anything could happen at this particular point. Anything.
It's a little shocking that Evans only got the 6.
They didn't move. They didn't drop. That's the thing. They didn't drop after losing to Oviedo. But, again, Oviedo was down 14 and came back. So I'm pretty impressed by that. So, that's 6A Region 1 right there. 6A Region 2, Armwood, what's interesting is that Melbourne was sitting at 5. They dropped to 6. Riverview's come up a little bit. But other than that, there's really not been much change here. And, really, at this particular point, depending on what happens, there's going to be some other factors. Obviously, 4 sitting at 8. They play Vanguard this week. Let's see how well they played against Vanguard. See if they maybe can pull an upset on their rivals. They haven't beaten Vanguard in a hot minute. So I'd be interested to see what happens.
Boy, that's
I feel like the only other thing I have a beef about is I feel like Southlake should be a 3 or 4. Osceola should be a 2.
Yeah, that was what I was getting. I was like, oh, man. It's Armwood's to lose. I'm not disputing that. But, I think Osceola's built to go on that road in the round 2 game. But, I don't really understand that one at all.
Oh, no, I don't understand it either myself here. You got Palmetto's sitting at 1 here. No surprise. The only team that really is the big West Boca does come up. They finally go up to the 2 seed. Probably should be the 1 seed in this region, in my opinion, but I digress. We'll see what happens. Hunter, De Vieira, I think, made the playoffs last year, so I don't think this would be their second trip to the playoffs in recent times here. But looking at this, Wiregrass Ranch, that's the biggest change here. Bumped Lando Lakes out of the 8th spot. Wiregrass now sitting there at 8. Wiregrass is kind of finally starting to find a groove here as of late. But again, I've seen crazy things happen. We think, we know what seems probably, depending on what happens. Again, there's a lot that's going to be left here. I'll be honest with you guys. You're talking about classifications. Don't always be happy that when Lakeland goes up to 6A. The problem is that will there be even a 6A? Could we be 5 classifications? By the way, we're looking. I'm going to make sure I can get this situated tomorrow. 2:00. The FHA is having a virtual board workshop. That's going to talk about the upcoming board agenda items. And the biggest thing I believe that is going to be on that is the classification discussion. So I probably will come live. We'll bring that feed in and then we'll discuss and talk about it. We'll kind of have a live chat. That's 2:00 Eastern, 1:00 Central tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll bring the live stream in from the FHA when we do the playoff stuff next week on Thursday, November 6th. So we'll bring that feed in, be able to bring that in. We'll discuss it as they put the playoff brackets up and everything. We'll do a whole fancy shenanigans show, and we'll have a lot of guests situated and ready for that show as well. But again, outside of that, there's 6A Region 3, 6A Region 4, Miami Southridge holding that 1 seed. Really, there was really no change in this region, and I feel like the teams that you're seeing here are going to be the teams. And Miami Southridge, I think, is a clear lock number 1 seed in this region. I don't think there should be any issue with them not having that number 1 seed at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, that's a no-brainer there.
Noli says Polk schools are redrawing zones. Lakeland looks to add 1K. How are they going to add 1K? Are they shutting the school down, Noli? Because that makes no sense. Why would you add 1,000 to the current population? That makes no sense. Here, many teams in the FHA are thinking about switching to SSA next week. Whatever comes out of the FHA meeting may convince more to even switch over to next year too. Problem is, I'll tell you all this right now. Not every school that's going to apply, that if they apply for SSA, are going to get in. Because the SSA, they put it to the school, they put it to their other members, and they say yes or no if they're wanting that school in. And I tell you right now, some of the schools I'm hearing that may want to go will get an automatic rejection of a no. So I will tell you that right now. Noli, send me that article. All right, let's go to Class 7A Region 1 here. We've got DeLand sitting at 1. Spruce Creek and Boone have flip-flopped spots. The biggest team that you see that's been in this mix that is out now, that would be like Brantley. Seminole is now into the 6th spot. So that make well Coach Calhoun a little bit there, but Boone 10-0. Well, Boone's not 10-0 yet, and DeLand's not 10-0 yet. Here's the thing: Boone's got Edgewater this week for the Battle of the Barrel. Both teams are 9-0. Somebody is walking out of that game with a loss. Gone are the days that there's a tie, unless the lights go out.
I have no comment to this right. I'm not happy at all.
I mean, and then there's like Mary, and there's
one. Be 10-0 and not play damn near anybody.
But I don't think, I'll be honest with you, I'll tell you all right now, the forecast is not ready. The rankings have not been ran on the Florida Power Rankings Index. That's because of all the tech trouble. I am working on getting that done, but that's not going to happen until tomorrow at the earliest. So when we do the pick 6 tonight on the shows, there will be no forecast. I'm just going to go basically on my gut instincts on these games based upon what these teams have done. So it's through first 10 weeks. At this point, it's eyeball test, everybody. Eyeball. But Haggerty's still sitting there in the mix. But again, Seminole now has come from being at the bottom up to now being below the 8, because Creekside will be the 8 seed coming into this at this particular point here. As we go into this. All right, real quick here. Venice 1. By the way, y'all saw Winter Haven sitting at an 8 seed for weeks, or between 6 and 8 for weeks. Well, Winter Haven, you let me down. Ridge Community 3-0 in the district. They've got the spot into the playoffs. Winter Haven now out of the running for playoffs here at this particular point. And I'll be interested to see what happens here. Maybe there's a chance that they can push past Alonzo for that 7 seed. But we'll have to see what happens here. Obviously, this week is also it's a decision week. So if I'm saying that Boone is 10-0 and DeLand's 10-0, who gets the 1 seed? Well, I'm telling you right now, who's going to get the 1 seed? And that'll be freaking DeLand. I think DeLand will be the 1 seed in that Region 1. So this just we'll just end that conversation right there, in my opinion. But Venice sitting in the 1 seed, there's no surprise in this. I think Venice will be will own this region, no issue there. really Region 3, really the biggest change is the 7 and 8 seeds. Lake Nona up to 7, East Ridge is down to 8. So, but I feel like the teams that are in this region, they'll be the teams in the playoffs that from this region. So, and then Region 4, Coach, Miami Palmetto won. Cypress Bay is actually in the mix now here, and that's outside of that. The teams you're seeing in Columbus and South Data flip spots. Columbus is actually down to 6, and this is just not. You know what? I'll be honest with you. If Venice struggles in the playoffs, could 7A be wide open? Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
So,
there's at least when I really look at it, if I'm just not really paying attention to the brackets and just looking at teams that have the chance to win a title out of this whole classification, there's 6 teams that I look at and I say, based on who they get round to round, there's 6 teams that have the makeup to win the state title out of that classification. I think there's a lot of weak teams in it that are just going to be there as a formality. There's 6 teams in my mind that I'm like, okay, you give them the right matchups here and there, and Venice. I mean, to your point, yeah, I don't see Venice struggling. But this Region 4 though is a shakeup for sure. I think there's some upsets inside of that bracket potentially if that's how it shakes out.
No, absolutely. Here as we roll along here, and with that said, here pretty much that is a look at the brackets here as we get ready to go into our other shows tonight here. And Coach, any final thoughts as we roll this wrap this up here on the before we go into our first of our 4 regional Blitz shows, the Southwest Florida Blitz coming up here at 7:30.
This interesting to see the teams that make up games after this final week. There's a lot of really important matchups that I think could shake up the bottom of some brackets. I think the tops, it seemed pretty consistent. The top 3 seeds in most of those regions all seemed pretty locked in. There might be some shuffling up at the top of some regions, but I don't foresee. The one that really stands out to me is we'll go back to that St. Augustine region with Choctaw. I would be curious to see if St. Augustine makes the jump back to 1, just because they had been sitting up there for so long. But with that being said, I think it's going to take. They're going to. You're talking about it's going to have to be a 30+ point margin type game at this point. I don't, because nothing stands out to me that they've done. They haven't done anything wrong. There's no blemish.
No, absolutely.
So,
I agree. There's a lot there that's to be said here, and there's a lot to be said about these rankings. I'm interested to see if that comes up tomorrow in the FHSAA workshop. They hey, we've gotten complaints about the rankings. People are tired of not having transparency of what these rankings look like. But put a committee to do a ranking set. Do a committee. But you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, everybody wants the computer, but the computer is not giving us what we're expecting here when we see it on the eyeball test, and that's what we're seeing here.
Right. Absolutely.
So, all right, I saw Coach's screen go black all of a sudden here, but I know I can hear him still. But anyway, there you go. Anyways, we're wrapping this up here for the Drive the State show here on FloridaHSFootball.com and the FloridaHSFootball.com social media handles. Coming up next is the Southwest Florida edition of the Blitz. We'll have Evan LePack on from the Venice Gondolier. Rest of our shows, we're not going to have so much in interviews because this one was already preset and everything. But we're going to go through our shows and we're going to have fun with that. We're going to talk because there's a lot more that we can talk about, especially these teams that are sitting here with everything with the playoffs and the rankings that's it. So, but anyways, appreciate everybody. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes here for the Southwest Florida edition of the Blitz here on Florida HS Football and the Florida HS Football social media handles. See you shortly.